Hey, good afternoon to you. It is 4:06 now. News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up this hour, Hans Von Spakovsky. He's an election expert. He's definitely got the resume for that. We're going to talk to him about whether or not our election systems are prepared, are trustworthy in 2024. Hans has the update for us. And then Mary Rook will join us at 5 o'clock from the Daily Caller. The left's transgender hysteria is once again growing out of control. And Mary is so good at documenting it, she'll be joining us at 5. You can talk to us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Yeah, there's a new Star Wars movie coming out. Haven't we had enough of those? And the director that Disney has chosen to present it hates men. She wants to produce a feminist Star Wars film. They're taking the Luke Skywalker saga and, of course, destroying it, just like the left does with everything else. Star Wars director Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy says that her goal is to make men uncomfortable. Here she is sitting down with Jon Stewart, who, of course, complies as she tells him that her job is to make him uncomfortable.
What is the balance of activating a force for change, but also trying to permeate that patriarchy, that power structure? And is that a part of the calculation
He's so embarrassing.
of your art as well? And what's been the reaction to that?
Oh, absolutely. I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable. Not you, just not you.
You're one of the good ones.
Point taken, point taken.
But, it is important to be able to look into the eyes of a man and say, I am here, and recognize that. And recognize that I am working to bring something that makes you uncomfortable, and it should make you uncomfortable because you need to change your attitude. And it's only when you're uncomfortable, when you're shifty, when you have to have difficult conversations that you will perhaps look at yourself in the mirror and not like the reflection. And then say, maybe there is something wrong with the way I think, or maybe there is something wrong with the way I am addressing this issue.
This movie's going to suck. I'm just telling you right now. Maybe I'm wrong. I can guarantee I'm not. Christian Toto is the host of the Hollywood and Toto podcast and joins us now. Christian, good afternoon to you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
What is
I'm still
this?
laughing at your comment.
What is this? So Disney finds a new director. Disney took over Star Wars. George Lucas is basically not a part of it anymore. Is that right?
Yeah, he sold it. I believe it was $4 billion maybe 10, 12 years ago. Maybe a little more.
Okay. So, and then they produced a number of films, and the fans had mixed reviews on whether or not they even liked them at all. And now they're giving it another go.
Yeah, I mean, there's been many different Star Wars film projects announced, explored, revealed, and then canceled. So, whether this one gets off the ground remains to be seen. It seems like it's closer to reality. But, Disney and Star Wars has a branding problem. And we saw that recently with the South Park special, where they just absolutely skewered what's happening at Disney behind the scenes, the product. You have to quote, you have to hear Cartman say it, in its full glory to get the full extent of it. But, what this director is saying in that quote, which was, I believe, not recent, but recently unearthed in some more recent comments, is just playing into the whole, hey, we're going to make movies that are diverse and they have a message and they're feminist and the future is female. Instead of saying, we love Star Wars, we know you do too, we can't wait to bring this new story to you. We think it's going to be exciting and fresh and new, and we can't wait for you to see it. That's what they could say. That's what they should say. But they say everything else but that.
They seem to be just like, if my plan was to destroy a bunch of valuable franchises, I would do exactly what Disney's doing, right? Like, look at their live-action remakes, for instance, have followed this pattern as well. Like, they did a live-action remake of The Little Mermaid, and Prince Eric doesn't get to kill Ursula in the end because they wanted to make sure that Ariel kills Ursula. And I was like, what is Eric for? What's his point in this movie? Like, they keep on doing this. Christian, why is that?
It's an ideology. I mean, ideology trumps all. It trumps reason. It trumps the box office. And it's what they care about the most. And, we're talking about a very bubbled community. You think about Hollywood, Disney. The people within this community don't hear your show. They don't hear opposing point of views. If they do, they dismiss them. So they're not understanding that there are a lot of people very frustrated by what's going on with the content. People want to love Star Wars. I grew up with Star Wars.
Yes.
I'm a grown man. I'm a middle-aged man, and I still want to love Star Wars, but I watched the last few films, and I said, yeah, I'm out. I don't enjoy this anymore. It doesn't have the magic or the sparkle. And instead of recognizing that and really understanding what made these movies so unique and so wonderful, they want to layer on their agenda. And, listen, in a way, there's nothing wrong with messages and agenda in storytelling. Often that makes great art. But if it's first and foremost on your mind and making it special and magical and top-notch isn't, well, then you get products like, Solo, a Star Wars movie, or The Rise of Skywalker, or The Last Jedi. You get mediocrities. That's what we're seeing again and again.
There's a lot of mediocrity, and it's unfortunate. The other thing that they do is they screw up all the superhero movies. So it's not the formula for a superhero movie. I think just as I'm not a film critic, but as a guy who appreciates good superhero movies, is just you get somebody who is, maybe kind of weak in the beginning of the film. They discover that they have some unusual power. They explore it. They come to the culmination of that power as they face off against the bad guy in the end. They look the part of the superhero in the end. They're jacked. They're capable. They fight. They're these extraordinary versions of humans that most of us will never live up to. But now what Disney has done is they take all their superhero movies and they put, some dumpy little girl in there, and they're like, okay, she's always powerful the whole time. She never struggles. She dominates. And it's like, these movies are not succeeding. People are not watching them because they don't identify with the characters and they don't want to watch a superhero movie that looks like that.
It seems like a pretty simple formula and hard to screw up, but they seem to be screwing it up anyway. And what you're referring to is something that's been called the Mary Sue. It's this nearly perfect character who doesn't go through a struggle, who doesn't have an awakening, who doesn't have an interesting story arc, like Rey in the recent Star Wars movies. Right from the jump, she is a great Jedi warrior. She knows all the tricks. She hasn't had to learn like Luke did with Yoda. And people find that very frustrating and dramatically inert. And listen, people want to love new characters and new heroes.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a huge fan base. Maybe I'm wrong for Rey, and it's not the actress's fault. It's the story's fault. It just didn't make her something special. Meanwhile, 40, 50 years later, all we can do is talk about Princess Leia because she was great and she was resourceful and she was spiky and she was interesting and she was tough.
Yes.
And she was nuanced, flawed. And those things made her what she is today, an enduring character we can't stop loving.
Totally. Do you think that the message is getting through to Disney at all? Are there people at Disney who are like, hey, this is stupid. We should go back to what it made us great in the first place? Or are they too far gone?
I don't know. I suspect they're too far gone. Disney CEO Bob Iger keeps saying we want to turn down the heat on the culture war conversation. We want to quiet things down. And then he says, oh, yeah, we're going to pull advertising from X because we don't like Elon Musk. Well, that's a political move. That's an ideological move. So if you really are intent on making Disney Disney again, well, let's stop that. And also with this film, the filmmaker you described, the director of the new Star Wars movie, maybe just gently pull her aside and say, listen, can you focus on how wonderful this project's going to be, how you want everyone to enjoy it, and it's going to be a resurgence for Star Wars. Let's keep the messaging on point. And you don't want to say can't speak and you can't have your free speech. But when actors and directors, when they speak to the public, it is all about marketing. It's, hey, here I am, come see my movie. And anything off that message is often a mistake.
Right. And an example of that immediately comes to mind to me is this Rachel Ziegler, who apparently is playing Snow White in the new live-action Snow White that Disney's releasing. And she was making all sorts of claims about how a prince doesn't save her in this movie and she doesn't need that, and that the old movie is retrograde and it has all these backwards views. It's like, what are you doing? You're supposed to be promoting this franchise to a new generation by appealing to the people who have, fond memories of the old one.
people love the brands. They love Star Wars. They love Sleeping Beauty. They love, Snow White. And for a new iteration of this to come along and the people behind it saying, yeah, that was junk, we're going to make it better. It's just terrible. And just a quick example, Drew Barrymore years ago, she starred in, I think, 2 Charlie's Angels movies. I grew up with the Charlie's Angels TV show. It was garbage. But I was young, it had pretty girls, it was silly, it was fluffy. It served its purpose. It was a fun show. But she spoke about the source material like it was Citizen Kane. We want to honor what they did in the past. That might be a little silly, but that's actually a good marketing technique. That's what she should be doing. And yet the actors today, they don't have that reverence. They don't have that sensibility. And again, Star Wars PR, they've got flacks. They got people who help shape the messaging. They should just gently pull Rachel aside and say, listen, I know those are your feelings and I get that, but we're trying to promote the movie. Can you help us out? Can you stop doing the opposite?
Yeah, narcissism is costly, it turns out. All right, well, Christian Toto, it's been a while since I've talked to you, and I'm really glad to talk to you today. We'll have to do it again very soon. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Sounds good. Thanks.
That's Christian Toto from the Hollywood in Toto podcast. Always such a good guest on these subjects. It really is amazing. Over on CNN during their New Year's coverage, apparently, this is the clip that was going around. They were talking about this Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy, who's the new director of the upcoming Star Wars movie, and how it's so great. It's about time we have a woman directing these films. Like, what is George Lucas thinking?
Also, the first woman and the first person of color to direct a Star Wars film. It's set to be released in 2026. You can say that the force is strong with this one. Here's Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy.
I'm very thrilled about the project because I think what we are about to create is something very special. And we're in 2024 now. And I think it's about time that we had a woman come forward to shape the story in a galaxy far, far away.
Make the case. Why? What is that? And then, of course, the case is that I want to make men uncomfortable. Kate's in Manassas, line 3. Kate, good afternoon. You are on the Vince Coglianese Show. Hello, Kate.
So happy to reach you. Happy New Year.
Hey there. Happy New Year.
I wanted to tell you I have 5 brothers and 8 sisters, and they all have boys that are grown now, and none of the men in my life would be uncomfortable with that woman because they have common sense and that kind of toxicity. I think normal men stay as far away from that as they can. And it's too bad she got put in that position, because nobody's going to see that. They'll just ruin it like the last one.
Right, yeah, I'm not uncomfortable. I just don't want the hassle. Like, the lady's got a mental illness. I'll just leave her alone. She can hang out by the punch bowl. I'll go get drinks with the other guys.
Well, all the Disney movies used to be popular with everyone.
Yeah.
Now they're struggling, because they turned into this crazy.
I know. It's really wild. It is actually really sad what they've done to that company. I remember going over to my grandmother's house as a kid. We used to watch all the Disney movies. She had a whole rack of the VHSs, just like a lot of them, a lot of the classics. And all the kids, we would rewatch all these old movies all the time. We loved them because they were great. And boy, they're wrecking that now, aren't they, Kate?
Oh, well, you know what they did to Snow White? Because she didn't consent to the kiss. Then the guy's whatever he is.
It's amazing.
I
Kate,
thought he should go up maybe with an air horn. See if that works.
Yeah, something's got to work. Thank you, Kate. I appreciate the call. Kate
Thanks
says,
for talking to me.
Of course. Happy New Year to you. Kate says the men in her life would not feel uncomfortable at all. They would just avoid this lady entirely. If you've been listening to the show for a while, you know that when a guest brings up some of these crazy things that are happening in the media, I do try and quickly pull them up, see if we can't find the audio. I wasn't able to find the audio when Christian Toto brought up South Park and Cartman talking about how Disney ruins everything. I was scrambling for it, couldn't find it. Corey has found it for me, though, so thank you, Corey. And here you go. Here's Cartman on South Park talking about how Kathleen Kennedy, who runs a lot of Disney's operations, is ruining everything.
And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse? But then Kennedy's like, it's not our fault, it's because of Kathleen Kennedy. But then Kathleen Kennedy's just like, make it more lame. And everyone in town is like, no, please, Kathleen Kennedy, stop ruining everything. But Kathleen Kennedy is all like, put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more lame. And the Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And then Bob Iger is all like, no, let's go down with my stock. No, Kathleen Kennedy.
I love that. First of all, that voice that they've been doing for years is really funny. Put another gay diverse woman in it. It's just a hoot. It's just really funny. Anyway, so who knew South Park was going to become the voice of reason in 2023? Like, they're the one place who are like, this is all stupid. Everybody realizes that, right? Like, the emperor has no clothes. Just want everybody to know. It's just amazing. Amazing. Hey, coming up, we've got Hans Von Spakovsky is just minutes away. I also want to spend some time today talking about how Joe Biden, fresh back from vacation, you see how sunburned he is coming back from the Virgin Islands? He thinks that he looked at the polls and he was like, why is Trump ahead of me? And the lesson he took away was that he has a better tan, I guess. So Biden spent his vacation, as far as I can tell, it looked like he was trying to sniff the sun. That's how dark he is right now. And he just got back from the Virgin Islands, and he's going to, I'm told this weekend, begin his campaign of division again. He wants to go back to Pennsylvania, the scene of the crime. Last time he was at Liberty Hall, and he decided to attack Republicans as extremists. He was bathed in blood red light, and he's apparently headed back to Pennsylvania to do it again. So I'll tell you a little bit about how that's all shaping up. That's happening. And also, we've got these congressmen on the border, these Republican congressmen on the border, who are trying to place an emphasis on it. The White House today claims that they're making the border more dangerous by being there. I kid you not. Isn't that the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? That by calling attention to how wide open our border is, they are making things worse. For what? For who? For cringe? That's the problem? How about you just secure the border? Then you won't have these problems. Then Republicans won't be able to exploit this if you actually secured it. So that's ahead. I've got Matt in Rockville. Let me take Matt real quick on line 2. Matt, good afternoon. You're on the Vince Coglianese Show, sir.
Hey Vince, I got a great money opportunity for Harvard grads.
Yes.
So as we've seen, remember they shut down free speech, and we had a lot of law schools coming out and saying we're not going to hire any Harvard law school students. Now we're seeing this. Well, what they should do is, if Claudine Gay is a professor at that university, and this would especially work for a guy, have the guy cite her work, but don't give her credit for it in a paper, turn it into her. When the school comes down and says that is plagiarism, sue the school for a Title IX violation, because then you could either settle out of court, or if it goes to court, oh my, would discovery be fun.
Yeah, who actually wrote that paper? Was it Claudine Gay? That's funny.
How many people it could have been? It could have been a ton. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe Discovery will reveal the true author of all of Claudine Gay's work. Thank you, Matt. In the meantime, she's getting paid nearly $1 million a year, having been fired, having resigned as president of Harvard. Sure. Yeah, what a punishment. Less work, the same obscene amount of money. Coming up, Hans Von Spakovsky gives us an overview of the 2024 election. Will we have integrity this year? The big question, some answers ahead. Well, good afternoon to you. 4:35 here, News Talk 105.9 WMAL, where we are making sense of the news. Coming up, top of the hour, we'll be joined by Mary Rook from the Daily Caller. We'll talk to her about the left's transgender hysteria. It just keeps on going, and it's not helping the country out. Mary will tell us why. And you can join us at 888-630-9625, 888-630-WMAL. Well, we are now less than 2 weeks away from the Iowa caucuses. And beyond that, of course, we've got the presidential election, the general election taking place in November. And the big question on so many of our minds is, how secure will this election be? Clearly, we're watching right now as the left is attempting ballot rigging operations in places like Colorado and Maine, and that's not overstatement. They're literally removing Trump's name from the ballot. What is that if not ballot rigging? Of course it is. It is ballot rigging. And here to tell us about what else is happening with our elections is a guy who's studied our election system for his whole career. Hans Von Spakovsky is here. He's the manager of the Election Law Reform Initiative and a senior legal fellow at the Meese Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. Hans, good to have you with us, sir.
Well, thanks for having me.
That is, every so often I do check in with you and I say, okay, what does it look like right now? How are things shaping up? We have seen a bunch of states change laws since 2020. Is it to our benefit?
It depends on what state you're in, and it's really a mixed bag. And it probably doesn't surprise you to know that many of the generally considered red states have improved things. You know, states like Texas and Georgia, for example, have extended their voter ID laws to cover not just in-person voting, but also absentee balloting, which so many people do now. On the other hand, Michigan, for example, passed a horrible referendum that gutted their voter ID law. You have Pennsylvania, the governor there, on his own initiative, without a statute giving him authority to do it, putting in automatic voter registration, which is the quickest and fastest way to get people who aren't actually eligible to vote like aliens on the voter roll. So, you know, it depends on where you are. If you're voting in some states, like I said, Georgia, Texas, Florida, Tennessee, places like that, things have improved a lot. But if you're voting in places like New York, California, Nevada, those places are very insecure, and in fact, they have in some ways made things worse since the 2020 election.
Yeah, that's not good. So let's talk about Michigan for a second. You said that they watered down their voter ID requirements there?
Yeah, they did it through what I consider to be a very deceptive process. A huge amount of money went in to put a referendum on the ballot. And the referendum made all kinds of changes in the election rules. And any voter reading it, if they'd read the first part of this very long referendum, it talked about how, well, there now will be a requirement that all voters show a photo ID. Well, if you stop there, you as a voter would think, oh, that's great, I'll vote for this. If you kept reading, the fine print was, however, any individual who doesn't have an ID can show up and simply sign a form saying that, yeah, they really are who they say they are, and they get to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a referendum that I think fooled voters, because generally voters overwhelmingly support voter ID.
And that's exactly, well, yeah, we've seen the surveys on that for years, and there is no downside, actually, to voter ID. There's only upside to it. As a part of the effort to push that in Michigan, was the lie that black votes would be suppressed if voter ID was required? Was that pushed around at all?
Oh, yeah, that's pushed around every time that any kind of voter ID requirement is there. But look, it's not just state legislators in some states acting badly. Even in the good states, what has happened over the past 3 years is that the left, and it's these huge foundations, the Carnegies, the Ford Foundation, they have been pouring huge amounts of money and giving them to left-wing advocacy organizations who have filed suits to try to stop almost every improvement that states have made. Everything from trying to get voter ID laws thrown out to, in some states, trying to get rid of what has a practice that's been in place for a long time, which is a basic security measure of election officials when they get an absentee ballot, comparing the signature on the absentee ballot with the signature on file for that registered voter. That's just one way of finding if somebody has forged. Well, those requirements, they're being sued. States are being told, oh, that's discriminatory. You can't do that.
There's no reason to do any of this unless you're trying to commit fraud or you believe you're the beneficiary of it.
Well, yes. Yeah, that's exactly right, and I'm afraid that's what's going on. Or again, another requirement that's being attacked. States have required this for years all over the country. There's nothing discriminatory about it. States have required often with absentee ballots that there be a witness, a witness who can testify that, yeah, you, the voter, voted that ballot. That's being attacked in litigation by the left too.
You mentioned Pennsylvania. That's an essential state. here. I have seen, for those of us who want to see conservatives, Republicans prevail, some promising news. Scott Pressler is often given a lot of credit for this in his activism in Pennsylvania, that Republican registrations are doing very well there. Has that been your finding?
Yeah, and look, a key to elections is, of course, voter registration, but it's not just voter registration. It's getting people to the polls. And that is, it's one thing to register, it's another thing to convince people to go vote. And, that's a political matter quite separate and apart from the administrative rules that govern the election process.
Now, also in Pennsylvania, there were all sorts of obvious problems during the 2020 election that I don't think a lot of people are confident have been fully sorted out. Among them was that the left-wing jurisdictions in the state, places like Philadelphia, were doing something called ballot curing, where they were basically padding the numbers in a way that the red districts were not. They were taking these ballots and then treating them as submitted, and that was the end of it. In your view, has there been any change to that? Is there any update on how so-called ballot curing is done in Pennsylvania?
Well, I think what's happening is that the more conservative jurisdictions are realizing that they've got to do that too. And what curing means, and by the way, some states have actually passed laws. Texas is one that have now put that into statutes. And what it means is that if an absentee ballot comes in, for example, and the voter, perhaps they forgot to sign it, like you're required to under the law, rather than just throwing the ballot out and not counting it, election officials are required to call the voter and say, hey, you forgot to sign your ballot. If you come into our office and sign it, well, then we can consider your ballot. And they give the voter the option to cure the ballot.
You get a mulligan.
You get a mulligan. But that's only fair if every election official in every county is doing that. If only some counties or cities are doing it, perhaps in the large liberal areas, well, then that's an unfair advantage. And it's got to be done uniformly across the state if you're going to allow that.
Yes. It's maddening to me that conservative jurisdictions weren't doing it in the first place, unless they were under the impression that it was illegal.
Well, it was in a lot of states. There was no law allowing you to do that. But since the 2020 election, a number of states have put in statutes allowing and directing election officials to give voters the opportunity to cure their ballots. I don't have a problem with that at all, as long as it's being done uniformly across the state.
Sure. But also, doesn't it give mail-in ballots an advantage that in-person ballots don't have?
Well, to some extent, yes. Although look, when you're voting in person, if you make a mistake, for example, if you go to feed your paper ballot into the computer scanner and you've made a mistake and the computer scanner actually rejects it, you have the ability to go ask election officials questions, and they can try to help you if needed. So I'm not sure it gives you an advantage, but absentee ballots, no matter what you do to try to make them more secure, people have to realize they're the most insecure way of voting.
I started with an assessment of what these states are doing, Colorado and Maine. They're removing Trump from the ballot entirely. Do you agree with me? This is straight up ballot rigging going on?
It is, because they don't have valid legal or constitutional reasons for removing him from the ballot. Hopefully, the Supreme Court will fix this. Last week, just before, right after Christmas, actually, the Colorado State Republican Executive Committee actually filed a petition with the U.S. Supreme Court asking them to take up the case and to reverse what the Colorado Supreme Court did. I'm hoping the court will take it up and will act very quickly on this. They really have to. They have to take it. They have to act quickly because, good grief, we've got elections coming up starting almost right away.
Yes. Yeah, the left does not have respect for the voters. They really resent the fact that the voters have a say at all. So they're trying to remove their options, quite obviously. Hans Von Spakovsky,
Right.
Thank you for that. We're going to check back in with you again soon as we get closer to the election because hopefully the picture keeps improving. Thank you very much.
Sure thing, anytime.
That's Hans Von Spakovsky over at the Heritage Foundation, just doing great work on elections, as always. Speaking of the effort to remove Trump from the ballot, it keeps being battled out in the court right now, and God willing, the Supreme Court takes this up, and by some miracle, it's a 9-0 vote, just absolutely slam dunking these left-wing activists into the ground. Places like in Maine and Colorado. Over on one of our favorite shows, The View, this morning, they were talking about this, and one of the hostesses there is a woman called Sarah Haynes, and she was saying that Trump should stay on the ballot. And boy, you are not supposed to say that at the table of The View. That's the last opinion you are allowed to have. In fact, you're not allowed to have that opinion. Joy Behar was so upset, she said, wait a second, I swear to you, in this audio you're about to hear, Joy Behar says the following thing. Leave it to the voters? Oh, no, she says. Here they are, the women of The View.
I would say here is that I actually agree with Governor Gavin Newsom and David Axelrod. These are Democrats.
It's so funny. Listen to her. She's got to do some throat clearing. She's saying, look, I agree with these high-profile Democrats that we shouldn't remove Trump from the ballot. It makes our effort too obvious.
Leading Democrats that say this would really cause a division that's almost insurmountable. And as someone that believes January 6th was that bad, wait 1 second.
So what are you saying?
Wait, just 1 second. I don't think the Supreme Court's going to hold this. I think they're going to overturn it, and it won't just be the originalists. I bet it's a 9-0 vote. I actually don't think they will hold this.
So you
but I
think they should leave it to the voters or not?
I think they should leave it to the voters, but I think the division this will cause, because what will happen is that martyrdom will be one step more. We have a nation that doesn't believe in democracy, doesn't believe in the voting. Everyone that loses says it was rigged and failed. I think this will create a visual to people that this was a rigged election by doing it. I do.
I think that the law will stand and people should follow the law.
If that is the law and the Supreme Court
if you're not going to follow an amendment, then why don't we have Taylor Swift run for president?
I have no idea what she said at the end, but the amazing thing here is, so many amazing things about that clip. But one is Joy Behar just being like, leave it to the voters? She's like, yes. She's like, oh, no. She can't handle it. She get voted the voters. She's utter contempt for the voters. And then Sarah Haynes says, well, we have to do this because the other side doesn't believe in democracy. And what is it going to look like if we remove Trump from the ballot? Well, it'll look like the obvious, which is that it is your party that stands in opposition to a democratic system of governance. In this case, our constitutional republic. It is your party who's opposed to that. It is your party who prefers authoritarianism. It is your party who prefers, by any means necessary, efforts to subvert democratic will. If the people are on your side, you fight like hell for democracy. If the people are against you, you attack democracy and then say that you're supporting it. That's the stunt. And so, Sarah, she's so close. She's so close. She's saying, well, what will it look like? It's not just that. It's what it actually is. They're removing Trump from the ballot because they don't want voters to have the option. The last thing they want is for Americans to be given the choice that they deserve to have. So they're rigging the election. We are witnessing in very real time an election rigging effort. It's the most obvious thing in the world. And it's totally brazen. And they sit there and they have the audacity to be like, the other side, they say things like the election's rigged. How crazy is that? Well, did the voters even have the choice to vote for Trump? No, we made sure that didn't happen. It's crazy. Did you know that Senator Bob Menendez of New Jersey, the corrupt senator from Jersey, that he has a daughter who is an MSNBC host? Her name's Alicia Menendez. She was filling in yesterday for Nicole Wallace over on that network. And apparently, as she was doing it, the news was breaking that her dad was being hit with a superseding indictment for being corrupt with the Qataris. And so she ends the broadcast by saying, we've got some breaking news coming up for you. And they pass it off to another host who says this.
Thank you so much for your expertise and for spending some time with us. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with some breaking news right after this.
Hello, I'm Ari Melber with some breaking legal news. New Jersey United States Senator Robert Menendez now facing new allegations in a second superseding indictment that was filed by a federal grand jury from his DOJ prosecution. Those prosecutors there at the Justice Department now allege Menendez received gifts not only for allegedly helping the government of Egypt, but also for helping a developer, Fred Davies, get a multi-million-dollar investment from a company with ties to the government of Qatar.
You imagine? I mean, what an incestuous little world this is. Bob Menendez's daughter. Hold up, we've got some breaking news. A different host pops in to tell you, breaking news, Bob Menendez has been charged with another crime. No acknowledgement of how that all went down. Do you think MSNBC viewers noticed? Huh. That's odd. He must be a Republican. Coming up, Mary Rook will be with us. She's got some thoughts about the left's hysteria, specifically when it comes to the transgender thing, the gender bending. She's got some thoughts on what it's doing to the country.